The one thing I wanted to talk about was something my clients have been asking me. I had a couple phone calls this week, and that was about how to transfer title to a vehicle. There's a lot of different ways to do that. So we routinely get this question, whereas do I have to do something with the title of my cars? The answer is, it depends. It's kind of
always our answer, huh? That's why people love attorneys. We just give straight answers. And
I know. And so
that's why we're hosting this stream, though, too. We're creating a space where we can have those conversations, because there's not always just one answer. It's not always the same easy answer for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And it really kind of depends on who you are, how your cars are titled, and who your beneficiaries are, if you're married or not. And so the answer can be different for different people, really.
But I had a consultation. I think we did this. This is on some of our social media. But I was like, oh, cars, I usually don't worry about them. And he's like, did you see what it was on there? And I was like, let me go back to the inventory. And it was like $1 million Ferrari or something. So I was like, oh, wait, that type of car, maybe we should plan for that one.
Yeah. So sometimes people have a Ferrari that's worth more than I'll ever see, and then they definitely want to account for that. Generally, we aren't as concerned with cars, because let's see, if their probate estate is under $75,000, then they can typically get transfer taken care of using that personal property affidavit.
Yeah, so we're not concerned, because my experience, I haven't seen cars cause an issue with probate. Now, there's been estates I've seen where they're well over $75,000, all the vehicles they have, but the DMV has allowed them to transfer the vehicles.
Yeah.
So it's just one of these things where I've seen people get tripped up in a lot of different things, and that's what we're telling them, hey, this is what you do need to worry about. But as far as cars and probate, that's usually not the issue.
Yeah, and when we say, probate estate, that's things that aren't controlled for by your trust and through beneficiary designations. So it's things that are in people's name individually. So that total needs to be under $75,000 typically.
Yeah.
And in that event, you can go to the DMV with that personal property affidavit and get title released to the heir.
So what are options for people when they're planning for cars? So they have some cars, whether it's a Ferrari or maybe it's another sentimental car. It could be like a $2,000, I don't know, whatever, but it's sentimental.
Yeah. So a lot of times what people do first is they, if they have title, they can have it jointly owned, and that's what some people are happy enough just doing that.
That's common with a spouse, but what if they want to give their car to a kid? Should they own it jointly with their kid?
No, well, owning it jointly, as I'm sure you well know, opens the door to some liability where they could be exposed if whoever they own it jointly with is sued or something. But yeah, that is one way to avoid probate and transfer title, as long as there's right of survivorship. So, for instance, you could have on your title John Smith or Jane Doe, and that way, whichever one passes, the other one would be able to sell that vehicle without the other signature. So that's something that the DMV would let you do by having a car be jointly owned.
Yeah. What other options do people have? So Nikki asked a good question here.
Yeah. Would you recommend transferring a beneficiary designation form? And yes, that's exactly what I was going to recommend at some point here. And that is the form that DMV allows you to fill out. Say who you want the car to go to upon your death, and then you sign and notarize it and attach it to your title. So you could do it to, say, your children, or sometimes you can even do it to where you can name your trust as the beneficiary. So that way you'd have one person, your successor trustee, take over the vehicle upon your death and split the proceeds through the trust.
Yeah, so I've seen estates where there's a collector vehicle of some sort, and maybe that's like the only large asset in the estate. So what we end up doing is transferring that to the trust. And then that way the trust can organize the sale of it and divide it between the beneficiaries.
Right. And the trust could own the vehicle, and that would be you could take the title to the DMV and put the vehicle in the name of the trust. So that would happen easily upon death.
what's another option for vehicle? There's one more option I can think of that we haven't talked about yet. If you want to specify who gets a vehicle.
You mean through your will, if you want to give
There
it
we
as
go.
a gift? So you could, put in your trust or your will who it goes to as a specific gift before it's split, let's say, between the children.
Yeah, so that's a good way if it's a sentimental vehicle or if there's several vehicles where they, want so-and-so to get, the Corvette and
My Ferrari to Will Grace because he's
Ferrari to Will,
estate
and it
tenant.
gets the Mercedes. So
Yeah.
yeah, vehicle's good.